Coming up on NonStop Local at 4, we continue to follow the impact of the government shutdown on federal workers. Why firefighters and air traffic controllers are raising the alarm as the days they work without pay continue to stack up. And Fairchild Air Force Base holding a food drive, the impact of donations today for military families who also face an uncertain financial future. And all eyes on Seattle as we follow the Mariners playoff run. SWX's AJ Howell is live at T-Mobile Park with pregame predictions and some stats ahead of the first pitch that's just about an hour away.
Corey Howard and Leslie Lowe, bringing you the content that connects our community. You're watching NonStop Local News at 4.
And yeah, let's just start with those Mariners. A live look at T-Mobile Park as the Mariners gear up for Game 3 of the American League Championship. The M's already up 2-0 in the best-of-7 series. Good afternoon. Welcome to NonStop Local at 4. We are following the Seattle Mariners' historic playoff run, and we have SWX's AJ Howell out live at T-Mobile Park for us. AJ, what does it feel like out there right now as the Mariners back on their home turf?
Oh, absolutely, Corey. There's a lot of excitement. You know, I'm getting some yells behind me, so beware if you hear any of that. We got a lot of fans around from both sides that are very excited from this matchup. And speaking of excitement, of course, the fans are excited, the players are excited. It's interesting to see how the conversation around the Mariners has changed over the past few years. Within those years, of course, making it back to the playoffs, now deep in the playoffs. And within that time, the Mariners bringing Luis Castillo, starting pitcher, to Seattle. Now, Cal Raleigh says that show of commitment had a bit of a domino effect.
It's one of those things where, you know, you can say whatever you want, but the actions speak louder than words, and it kind of excites the room when you're going out there, and because it's the message is clear, you know, we're going for it. We got our team significantly better, and you can look at this year as well, going out and getting Gino and Naylor and, you know, doing things like that. It's exciting, and it really, you know, brings that clubhouse together, creates a lot of energy and buzz.
Of course, Seattle fans are hoping that starting 2-0 in the ALCS before having even one home game has an obvious domino effect as well. Cal Raleigh and the Mariners looking to keep that momentum alive, that excitement, hoping that the fans bring the energy. I would say, in my experience standing here on this corner so far, they have, Corey.
All right, AJ, please stay with me here for a bit because, of course, big game for the Mariners tonight, but it's not just the Mariners, I believe, that people are going to be rooting for in the stadium. It was back to that 15-inning game that Humpy the Salmon won his very first salmon race. I'd argue it propelled the Mariners to victory that night. What's your analysis on the salmon race tonight? What does Humpy have to do to get win number 2?
Well, you know, he wasn't in immediate availability today. I didn't see him at batting practice. I would think maybe if he was, you know, getting some stretches in, some high knees, that sort of thing, some dynamic movement, then I'd, you know, be feeling like maybe he could go back to back. But honestly, Corey, not my area of expertise. You're the mascot guy. I don't know.
That is true. All right. Well, thank you, AJ. Keep us up to date on the Mariners game tonight and, of course, on the salmon race as well. Thank you. And let's just go from there to weather. Leslie, it was such a beautiful day. It looks like a beautiful day in Seattle there. You and I went out for a walk. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. And so I wanted to talk about what, you know, Mariners fans could expect if they're at the game. Well, by now they should be there, right?
You should probably get on the road if you're going to. Yeah, it starts in an hour.
So temperatures at, you know, upper 50s, plenty of sunshine, really a gorgeous night for a baseball game. So go Mariners. Of course, sunsets, temperatures start to cool. That's much the same right here. And look at that live look over Spokane. It is absolutely stunning, and we are seeing those fall colors pop all over the place. Temperatures right now mid-50s. We're at 56 in Spokane, 57 degrees over towards Coeur d'Alene. We've got upper 50s and low 60s back through central Washington. Again, mainly clear skies in the overnight hours tonight. That does mean That cold pocket air is going to settle in. We've still got a little bit of that northeasterly flow, so still some frost advisories in place for areas around Moses Lake. We'll hold those in place through about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll watch that very closely. You should too. Cover up those sensitive plants. That means those beautiful mums that you might have out on the patio, and of course this is tough on those sensitive crops out there as well, which is why that advisory is in place. Tonight we'll look for overnight lows at 30 degrees in Spokane, 34 over towards Coeur d'Alene. We've got low to mid 30s between Omak, Moses Lake, and Connell. We pop into the mid to upper 30s though for the Tri-Cities, Lewiston, and up into Wenatchee. When I see you back here in just a few minutes, Corey, it really is a relatively quiet wrap to the work week. There are some changes that are on the way, so we'll talk about that when I see you back here in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Leslie. And now to a crime tracker out of Moses Lake. 69-year-old Howard Bailey is in custody after deputies say he pulled a gun on his landlord this morning. According to the Grant County Sheriff's Office, Bailey pulled the gun and threatened to shoot his landlord, who was trying to serve him an eviction notice this morning. Bailey was renting a storage unit-based workshop in unincorporated Moses Lake at the time. Now, the handgun was recovered. Deputies determined it was stolen. Bailey is in the Grant County Jail facing possible charges of assault in the first degree and felony harassment. Well, a federal judge has halted the Trump administration's efforts to lay off thousands of federal workers during the government shutdown, saying the move is unlawful. According to a ruling this morning, the judge said the planned layoffs were not permitted due in part to being, quote, politically motivated. The judge pointed to statements made by President Trump where he said officials would target programs and agencies favored by Democrats. This emergency order halts the layoffs temporarily while unions representing the workers facing them challenge the Trump administration in court. The director of the Office of Management and Budget saying the number of layoffs during the shutdown will likely top more than 10,000. Well, some federal employees like air traffic controllers and TSA are struggling. They're facing another hurdle. Work without pay. Military service members and civilian employees also trying to put food on the table as they are required to continue working. NonStop Local's John Webb is out live at Fairchild Air Force Base where they're holding a food drive to help families of those who work on the base. John, the community is stepping up tonight for those who serve.
Yeah, actually, Corey, we jumped down the street now on Highway 2 down to the First Interstate Bank where they're holding another food drive today. And I tell you what, the need is there. Earlier this afternoon, we were up there at the Fairchild Air Force Base, and Second Harvest hosted a mobile food market there, and over 260 family members of the service members out there at Fairchild showed up. I want to show you where we're at. We're just off Highway 2 here in Airway Heights at the First Interstate Bank. This food drive's running until about 6 o'clock tonight, and I want to show you just how generous the community has been already. You walk in here when you bring your non-perishable food or monetary donations, and take a look at this. All of the food on the table has been donated within the last hour, and they still have a long ways to go. A lot of families to feed here at the Fairchild Air Force Base. Coming up tonight on NonStop Local at 5 o'clock, we'll check back in to see how they're doing and introduce you to some of the people that are hosting this food drive here in Airway Heights at the First Interstate Bank. We'll hope to see you down here, Corey.
Thank you very much, John. Meanwhile, no end in sight currently for the shutdown, with another vote failing again in the Senate today, 51 for and 44 against. According to a report from CNN, roughly 1.4 million federal workers have been furloughed or are working without pay. Lee Waldman has the latest on the people who are impacted.
Government shutdown, everybody focuses on D.C., but you know, when it boils down to the fact, it's us. You know, it's the person that you go to church with. It's the person that you're shopping in the grocery stores with.
Tim Wells, chapter president of a labor union representing federal firefighters stationed at military bases around Norfolk, Virginia, says the people he represents are concerned about when their next paycheck will come.
We're essential personnel that still have to go to work, still have to go every day, and even though we're not getting paid until the government opens back up.
They're not alone. Roughly 1.4 million federal workers are in the same boat, including air traffic controllers. Dan McCabe with the National Air Traffic Controllers Association is worried about the fragility of the already stressed ATC system.
This job is very stressful. It is. And they don't need the added stress of wondering when they're going to get paid again.
Now, some FAA facilities are reporting issues with staffing shortages, causing delays for travelers. In past shutdowns, government workers received back pay once an agreement to reopen the government was reached. This go-around, that's unclear. A draft Office of Management and Budget memo suggested that furloughed employees wouldn't get paid despite a 2019 law signed by President Trump during his first term that assured federal employees would recoup their lost wages. Lee Waldman, NonStop Local.
Still to come this afternoon on NonStop Local at 4, it's time for our annual obligatory Corey doesn't like candy corn, Leslie does like candy corn segment. But Brock's, the makers of the controversial confection, they made a list of who really likes this stuff, so we'll let you know what they came up with.
Someday I'm going to convince you to like candy corn if you mix it with salted peanuts. It's really good, Corey.
The only way that's if you have a time machine that can take me back to when I was 3 years old, maybe I'll appreciate them.
Let's just get real. I like anything with sugar in it. All right, a live look over Spokane. It's absolutely stunning outside, so get outside and enjoy it. We do have some changes. They're on the way just in time for the weekend. We'll talk all about that when I see you back here in just a few minutes.